The Dodgers are fracturing. Ohtani out. MLB is on fire and your fantasy team needs help now. Picture this. The most expensive athlete in professional sports history, a man who signed a $700 million contract, walks out of his own stadium. Not after a loss, not after an argument caught on camera. Quietly, alone, hours before game time, no statement, no press conference, no translator beside him. He walks through the clubhouse, out the doors of Dodger Stadium, gets into a car and disappears. Now think about what that moment looks like from the outside. You have the Los Angeles Dodgers, a franchise that spent the last several years building what they believed was the most complete, most dominant roster in modern baseball. And at the center of that blueprint was one man, Shohei Ohtani, the two-way unicorn, the player who pitches and hits at an elite level simultaneously. The player who doesn't just draw fans, he draws nations. And that man just walked out. This is the story of how one meeting in a private office cracked the foundation of the most watched team in baseball. This is the story of the words that should have never been said, the response that nobody expected, and the fallout that the entire league is still trying to process. We're building fast here at Hoop Action TV, closing in on 1,500 subscribers. And if you're watching this, you're part of why that's happening. Subscribe, hit the like button, drop a comment, and share this with someone who follows baseball or has a fantasy team that needs saving. Every share genuinely helps. Now let's get into the story. The 2025 Dodgers season was already carrying pressure before this moment arrived. The bullpen had shown cracks. The rotation was dealing with injuries. Media questions about the team's ceiling were mounting week after week. Dave Roberts, the manager who had guided this franchise through multiple postseason runs, decided it was time for a direct conversation. No coaches in the room, no interpreters present, just two men face-to-face in a private office inside Dodger Stadium. By most accounts, Roberts entered that meeting with what he believed was a reasonable agenda. He wanted to discuss workload management, how Ohtani's role could be adjusted tactically heading into the second half of the season. In Roberts' mind, this was responsible October planning. You don't win a World Series by burning out your best player in June. But what Roberts presented and what Ohtani heard were two entirely different things. To Ohtani, a restructuring of his role wasn't tactical flexibility. It was a fundamental challenge to his identity as a baseball player. Shohei Ohtani has spent his entire professional life fighting for the right to do both, to pitch and to hit at the highest level simultaneously. He did it in Japan. He proved it in Anaheim when almost nobody believed it was sustainable. He proved it again when he signed with Los Angeles. The two-way role isn't something Ohtani does, it is Ohtani. So when Roberts framed the conversation around scaling that back, the room shifted. Then Roberts made the move that changed everything. He raised a personal, sensitive topic about Ohtani's physical condition, specifically one that Ohtani had explicitly communicated was off limits. The details of what was said are not fully public, but what happened next has been reported clearly. Ohtani's response was quiet, not explosive, not a raised voice, just 5 words, cold, direct, and final. I never want to hear that again. He stood up from his chair, he walked through the clubhouse, he walked out of Dodger Stadium. He got into a car, alone, and he left. There was no dramatic scene in the locker room, no confrontation witnessed by teammates. The most famous athlete in baseball exited his own place of work in complete silence, and by the time people started to notice, he was already gone. What followed is where the situation moved from serious to critical. Roberts attempted to reach Ohtani through intermediaries. Phone calls, messages passed through team personnel, none of it landed. Ohtani was not responding. And then, according to reports, Roberts sent a message through a team official that contained the following words directed at Ohtani. Shohei, you have no right to refuse. That phrase, that is the grenade. In any professional environment, telling a colleague they have no right to refuse is an extraordinary thing to communicate. When that colleague is the highest paid player in the history of professional sports, a man who has fulfilled every obligation on his contract, it is a different category of statement entirely. It reflects something beyond miscommunication. It reflects a fundamental misreading of the dynamic between the Dodgers and Shohei Ohtani. He didn't check into a hotel. He didn't go to his home in Los Angeles. He went to the airport, destination, Japan, not because of an emergency. Not because of a prior commitment. He went home, back to the country where he grew up, where he learned to play baseball, where he became the athlete the world now knows. For anyone watching from the outside, the image is striking. Ohtani didn't need to fly across the Pacific to send a message. But the act of doing so says something precise and clear. There are lines that exist for him, and when those lines are crossed, he removes himself entirely from the environment that crossed them. Japan is not just a geography for Ohtani. It is the origin of his baseball identity. He left Japan in 2017 as a young man who believed he could do something at the major league level that no player had done in generations. The entire baseball world told him to choose, hit or pitch. He refused. He crossed an ocean to prove a point. And now, facing a different kind of pressure, he crossed that same ocean again on his own terms. The Los Angeles Dodgers signed Shohei Ohtani in December 2023 to a 10-year, $700 million contract, the largest in North American professional sports history at the time of signing. The contract wasn't just about production on the field. It was a statement. It told the rest of baseball, we are the destination. It told free agents globally that coming to Los Angeles meant something beyond a jersey. That statement is now in question. Inside the organization, two camps have reportedly formed. The optimists believe that Ohtani's professionalism, which has never been in question over his entire career, will bring him back to the table. That the relationship, though damaged, is repairable. That Ohtani knows what he signed up for and will honor that commitment. The pessimists inside the organization see something different. They see a player who has, at every critical moment in his career, prioritized his own identity as a baseball player over everything else, including organizational pressure, media doubt, and conventional wisdom. He crossed an ocean once to prove himself. The pessimists believe he will do it again on his own terms if the trust between him and Dodgers management is genuinely broken. The Dodgers needed Shohei Ohtani far more than they appeared to realize. And they just found that out in the most visible way possible. While the Dodgers are managing an organizational crisis, your fantasy baseball team does not have time to pause. Week 6 is here, the standings are tightening, and there is real money and real bragging rights on the line. Here is the complete breakdown of what is happening across MLB right now, and exactly what moves you should be making. Despite everything happening off the field, Shohei Ohtani still ranks 1 in fantasy points among all hitters heading into Week 6. The chaos surrounding his relationship with Dodgers management has not yet translated into diminished performance between the lines. His statistics remain at an elite level. If you currently hold Ohtani on your roster, you do not move him. His value does not depreciate based on a front office conflict. If you are looking to trade for Ohtani right now, understand that the price just became significantly more complicated. Some managers will overreact to the news and attempt to sell low. Others will hold firm because the on-field production speaks for itself. The calculus around trading for him requires you to assess how your league reacts to off-field news versus statistical reality. Mike Trout, age 34, is putting up top 10 fantasy numbers with the Los Angeles Angels, and the baseball world has largely missed it because the Angels are not a playoff conversation. His numbers entering Week 6 are not just good for his age. They are historically elite by any standard. Trout is carrying a 22.9% walk rate, the best of his career. His strikeout rate has dropped to 19.3%. He is on pace for 47 home runs this season. He is 5 for 5 in stolen base attempts. His barrel rate sits at 25.6%, also the highest of his career. These are not numbers that belong to a player in decline. These are numbers that belong to a player who has refined his approach at the plate to a degree that his younger self could not have achieved. Reports about the end of Trout's elite days were premature. If he is available on your waiver wire in any format, this is an immediate pickup. If you are not already rostering Sal Stewart, you are already behind your league. Stewart, 22 years old, plays first base for the Cincinnati Reds. He currently ranks 4th among all hitters in fantasy points heading into Week 6. The only players ahead of him are Shohei Ohtani, Yordan Alvarez, and Mike Trout, a list that tells you everything you need to know about the company this rookie is keeping. His counting stats: 9 home runs, a .979 OPS, and 7 stolen bases in 7 attempts. His pace projections are historic for a rookie: 50 home runs, 162 RBI, and 38 stolen bases over a full season. No rookie in the modern era has posted numbers at that pace simultaneously across all 3 categories. Stewart is not a breakout candidate or a dart throw. He is a confirmed elite producer who is playing the best baseball of any first-year player in this league right now. If he is on the wire in your format, drop whatever you need to drop and make this move today. Cam Schlittler was selected by the New York Yankees in the 7th round of the 2022 MLB draft. He was not a consensus prospect. He was not heavily covered in preseason fantasy circles. He was not on most people's radar entering this season. He is now posting a 1.51 ERA and a 0.74 WHIP at the major league level. He leads all of baseball with a 1.52 FIP, a metric that measures pitching effectiveness independent of the defense behind him. Right-handed batters are hitting just .113 against him. These numbers are not small sample flukes. They reflect genuine command, movement, and an ability to miss bats that scouts consistently noted at the minor league level, but that fantasy managers ignored because of his draft position. Paired with Max Fried, who has been quietly excellent in his first season with New York, the Yankees' rotation is shaping into one of the more underrated pitching assets in fantasy baseball heading into the second third of the season. Schlittler is a priority add in all formats. Ildemaro Vargas is 34 years old. He has bounced around MLB rosters for years without ever locking in a consistent role. He is not a name that appears on prospect lists or trade deadline discussions. He is currently on a 23-game hitting streak, a streak that dates back into the 2025 season, and has hit 5 home runs in his last 12 games. With Geraldo Perdomo sidelined due to injury, Vargas has secured the leadoff spot in the Arizona Diamondbacks lineup, one of the better offensive environments in the National League. This is a short-term play. Vargas is not a player you build around going forward, but right now in the next 2 to 3 weeks, he's producing at a rate that makes him absolutely worth the roster spot. Pick him up immediately if he is available in your league. Brandon Woodruff, starting pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers, exited his most recent start after just 1/3 innings. His velocity was down more than 7 mph from his established baseline. That is not a minor fluctuation, that is a structural concern. A velocity drop of that magnitude in a pitcher with Woodruff's injury history points toward what medical staff typically classify as dead arm. Monitor his status closely. If you are in a deep league, Shane Drohan or Logan Henderson, who's currently posting a 1.02 ERA at AAA, could be the stream options to fill that void if Woodruff hits the IL. Michael Harris II of the Atlanta Braves is dealing with a quad issue that has limited him to designated hitter duties only. Over his last 12 games, he's hitting .474, which is extraordinary production. The concern is that the quad issue could send him to the injured list. Do not drop him. His bat is too hot and his upside is too significant. But identify a backup at his position so you are not stranded if the IL designation comes through. Jackson Chourio of the Brewers is on track to return Monday. He should be activated in all leagues the moment he is eligible. Do not leave him on your bench through the activation window. Vinny Pasquantino of the Kansas City Royals is dealing with a sore back and is listed as day-to-day. Check his status before locking in your lineups for any week involving the Royals' schedule. A back issue for a first baseman carries real playing time risk even without an IL designation. Javier Baez of the Detroit Tigers is on the 10-day injured list with an ankle issue. Jae-Seung picks up the playing time increase as a result. He's a speculative add in deeper leagues for the duration of Baez's absence. Lewis Robert Jr. is currently awaiting MRI results on a sore back. Until that imaging comes back and a timeline is established, treat him with caution in your lineup decisions. Back injuries without clear diagnosis timelines are the type of situation that can deteriorate quickly or resolve in 48 hours. Do not assume either outcome until the MRI report is public. The Atlanta Braves and Los Angeles Dodgers face each other in a weekend series at Dodger Stadium, NL East versus NL West leaders colliding. Given the current climate surrounding the Dodgers, how this series unfolds in the standings and in fantasy production is worth tracking closely. Braves rookie J.R. Ritchie is projected to make his first two-start week in Week 6. In fantasy baseball, 2 starts from any pitcher regardless of their matchup is a significant counting stat opportunity. Ritchie is a dart throw, but the 2-start upside makes him worth the roster spot in most formats. The Cubs vs. Reds series runs 4 games at Wrigley Field in the NL Central. Both offenses rank among the most productive hitting environments this week based on matchup grades. Target hitters from both rosters who are in the lineup daily throughout that series. The most important scheduling principle for Week 6, identify the teams playing 7 games this week and target their everyday players aggressively. Volume is the multiplier in fantasy baseball. A player with 7 plate appearance opportunities this week will almost always outperform a comparable player with 5 purely on counting stat volume. Build your lineup around the schedule before you build it around projections. Shohei Ohtani walked out of Dodger Stadium today, and the whole league felt it. Whether Ohtani returns to full alignment with the Dodgers' organizational structure, or whether this becomes the beginning of a longer, more complicated rupture, the baseball world does not return to the baseline it was at before that private meeting. A player of Ohtani's stature, at the center of the most expensive contract in North American sports history, walking out of his own stadium alone, that does not go away quietly. In baseball, nothing stays quiet for long. Now Ohtani walking out mid-season because a manager crossed a personal line reminds me of something you'd see in the NBA, when a superstar reaches his limit with management and the power dynamic flips overnight. If you enjoy real breakdowns of athlete versus organization moments like this one, Hoop Action TV covers that exact territory in basketball too. You'll enjoy what's coming next on this channel. Drop a comment below, was Dave Roberts wrong to raise that personal topic with Ohtani? And who is your Week 6 sleeper pick? Is it Sal Stewart, Cam Schlittler, or did Ildemaro Vargas actually earn a spot on your roster? Tell us below. Share this video with your fantasy league group chat, especially the manager who still doesn't have Sal Stewart rostered. And if this breakdown helped your lineup or gave you something new on the Ohtani story, subscribe to Hoop Action TV. We are closing in on 1,500 subscribers, and every single one of you is part of building something real here. Like, comment, share, and we will see you in the next one.